And how do we find the right balance between COVID-19 and economic health? Because I don't know the term that they use here, but I mean, we have to find that balance, don't we? But how do we do that?
Yeah,
And what can Congress do?
This has been a huge argument, and you know that with the CARES bills, right? With the PPP and with all the things that we've done and the things we tried to stonewall from the other side on how to actually react to COVID-19. Well, let's talk about opening businesses. And I don't like to go into things I've sent or too much, policy crap, when it comes to what I've done. But when you look at a letter I sent to the president last month using data-driven techniques and data science to open up our economy, some people have been doing that out west and out east, looking at the spread of COVID and seeing which sectors of each Commonwealth or state can open going forward. And I want to give you a micro example of this. We're talking about, Governor Northam in phase one. I had to spend $30,000 to reopen on phase one to expand our outside areas. And we're even to the point where we have individuals that have been a little bit tense or surly dealing with our employees based on if they have a mask or not wearing a mask, based on us trying to enforce 6 feet, worried that there's going to be somebody drive by to report us.
Your company.
What's that?
This is for your company.
Silverback. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm dealing with this on the ground. That's why I'm also on the small business team that reports up to Mnuchin on what's going on the ground with the president's team on the PPP too. I'm a busy guy. Right. And my issues have always been, let's not look at this politically, let's look at this data driven. But the other issue we have, and Chris, this is for your listeners and everybody who's business minded, what do we do on a rolling reopen about lawsuits? What do we do about holding companies harmless or banks? Or what do we do about the employee-employer relationship with COVID-19? I think people better be worried that this could be a trial lawyer holiday, right, where they just go off. And right now I'm looking at legislation and wording on how do we provide some type of indemnification to businesses, banks, and schools or universities that are going to reopen. And why aren't we having leaders looking at the cascading effects of these decisions? And I think a lot of it has to do with we have political sort of careerists who've never been in business. And I think when you have decisions being made on that level, it's impossible to see what those effects are. And if you're not worried about the law of unintended consequences, you shouldn't be in charge.
Well, I mean, this is, and I've had this, the governor's Commerce and Trade Secretary has had conference calls with business leaders around the state, and I've been fortunate enough to be invited to be a part of it. It's like every other week we get on there, and I ask them about legal liability every time. Like, well, nothing's really changed. I'm like, what? I mean, are you in business? You don't understand, because every time the governor says something, we're trying to figure out what he just said, and no one can make sense of it. I mean, God bless him. This is why you have a government that has the committee structure, and you have a House and Senate that works out all the different, legislative parameters on these things and come up with, this is exactly what you can and cannot do. And this is all on the fly, and it carries the weight of law, or does it? And we're not getting any, definitive answers. And it's scary as hell, because now we're going, oh, it's phase two. Like, people go, what the hell's phase two?
Announcing phase two, and
then we have social distancing, and you have thousands of people in the streets. What the hell is this?
Well, I guess COVID-19 wasn't that important to governors and mayors, was it now, Chris? And
I don't want to go down the conspiratorial route, but there's a dichotomy there, if nothing else. There's a duality that we have to address.
Whether you get shot on purpose or shot on accident, you're still getting shot. And, so we can look at this as a function of a conspiracy or stupidity, but it gets to the same place. But our policy shouldn't, our policy on reopening and what you said about liability, we shouldn't be like a drunk playing lawn darts, right? And trying to get it in the circle. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? We can't teeter and totter on policy. We can't announce a phase two opening without the details of that phase two, and then give businesses 24 hours to get ready for the opening. And it goes to somebody who's afraid to make that decision down the line. And I think that's for political protection. And that's something I never want to be. Chris, I just don't want to be that. And if it costs me, it costs me a vote, here or there. Being honest about it,
Well, I mean, what I try to explain to business leaders is,
that's right.
right, you're getting a little fuzzy.
Oh, go ahead.
What I try to explain is, like, business leaders have to know, just tell us the bad side, and we'll account for that in our decision making. But when you kind of go, well, it's kind of this and kind of that, we're going, holy God, don't do that, because if we do something and we err on the side of, what we would prefer to do, and something happens, 10 years down the road, 7 years down the road, we could be hit with a lawsuit we never knew we were liable for. And they don't think like that.
Who is liable, Chris, on a fight on business grounds between somebody who doesn't want to wear a mask and somebody who wants to wear a mask? Who is liable if an employee says that he got COVID at that specific location when it can hardly be proven?
Right.
Right? How about a company being sued because they're not providing COVID tests? How about those who might be sued because they're not taking temperatures of every person coming into the actual establishment? How about somebody being sued because they can't enforce social distancing in an outdoor area because families refuse to? Could you be sued for having tables too close together? Could you be sued because somebody didn't wear a mask for 1 second? Could you be sued because somebody is wearing a mask and they didn't understand the directions that were given based on social distancing? All this are real questions that businesses have to come to grips with. And I got to tell you what, man, I have never been on more pins and needles as a business owner and as an elected representative than I have been in the last 4 weeks.
Sure, it makes perfect sense. So the balance in all this, are you gonna be submitting legislation to account for this? Is that what's going on, or are you signing others?
Yeah, there's multiple. So what I have is my staff is looking into multiple letters that have been put in about liability protection, or on the issue that we're having. And I don't want to be completely blunt about this, is we have a split house. And, what we're having is a complete protection of the consumer over every business. You have others have a complete protection of the business over every consumer. And I'm saying that we have to come up with common sense rules for, not only, liability protection, but what does that mean, right? What are we talking about? How does insurance cover this? By the way, I've been talking to insurance companies. So they're like, well, you don't want PREA. You don't terrorism risk insurance and pandemic risk insurance. What is that going to cost each company? How are we going to do this? Is it going to be government funded? What do we do about business insurance and liability? Is that something extra on top of this? Does my umbrella coverage do this? So for instance, say I have $3 million in umbrella coverage, right, Chris? Which is, say, on some of my buildings and stuff like that. So does my $3 million umbrella coverage cover somebody who sues me because they said that we didn't give proper directions because they got COVID at my picnic table? Again, why aren't we addressing this in a common sense business way? And it's not, I'm very because I am screaming at the rooftops that we have got to protect those businesses. I'm sure looking for a vote. And it just frustrates me on a level that's hard to define.
Yeah.